Hello everyone, today we are going to learn Year 6 Unit 8, You Can Be an Entrepreneur, pages 77 and 78, Reading Skills. Get ready with your textbook, we are going to start now. First, what is an entrepreneur? Let's read the text. An entrepreneur is a person who starts a business in order to make money. Although we often think of entrepreneurs as adults, young people can also be entrepreneurs. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to do some calculations before you start your business. You need to know the amount of revenue or income you will get from the business. You also need to know the expected expenses or costs so that you can determine your profit or loss. Based on the text, what do the words in red mean? Use the dictionary to help you. Let's learn the meaning of the red color words. Business, a commercial activity. Revenue, income. Expense, an amount of money needed or used to buy something. Determine, decide. Profit, a financial gain. Loss, an amount of money lost by a business. Now, let's learn how to do the calculations. I want to start a business by selling t-shirts. This is the t-shirt that I made. I sold the t-shirt for 30 ringgit. So 30 ringgit is my revenue. Of course, to make the t-shirt, I have to spend some money to buy the raw materials, such as the plain t-shirt and some dyes. I spent 15 ringgit to buy these raw materials. So these are my expenses. In order to know whether I have earned money or lose money, I have to use my revenue to minus my expenses. So here, 30 ringgit minus 15 ringgit equals to 15 ringgit. So 15 ringgit is my profit. I have earned a total of 15 ringgit.
Yes!
Now, what would happen if my expenses are higher, such as 35 ringgit? What will be the result? Yes, 30 ringgit minus 35 ringgit equals to minus 5 ringgit. So minus 5 ringgit is my loss. I didn't earn any money. In fact, I lose 5 ringgit. So in order to be a successful entrepreneur, we have to make sure that our revenue is always higher than our expenses in order to get profit. Let's practice. Li Jing, Luke, and Rani talked about their ideas to make money. Read what they plan to do. Li Jing, I want to sell wristbands. I will make them myself. I can make 20 wristbands in a month. I plan to sell them at 6 ringgit each. I will need 20 ringgit to buy the cord and 50 ringgit to buy the beads. Luke, my brother and I will collect tins for recycling. We will collect most of the empty tins ourselves. We will also ask our family and friends to help us. We need to spend 3 ringgit on plastic bags to keep the tins in. One full bag of empty tins usually weighs about 1 kilogram. We can get 4 ringgit for each kilogram. In a month, we can fill 5 bags. Rani, I plan to sell cookies. I will bake the cookies myself on Sundays. I can make 8 bottles of chocolate cookies in a month. I have to buy 8 containers at 5 ringgit each. I also need to spend 50 ringgit on the ingredients and another 50 ringgit on labels and decorations for the bottles. I plan to sell the cookies at 12 ringgit a bottle. Now, let's do the calculations together. Let's look at Li Jing first. What is the product she wants to sell? Yes, she wants to sell wristbands. What are her expenses? She needs 20 ringgit to buy the cord and 50 ringgit to buy the bits. So the total of her expenses will be 70 ringgit. What is her revenue in a month? She can make 20 wristbands in a month, and she plans to sell them at 6 ringgit each. So 6 ringgit times 20 equals to 120. In order to get the profit, we have to use revenue to minus the expenses. So 120 ringgit minus 70 ringgit equals to 50 ringgit. 50 ringgit is her profit. Next, let's look at Luke. What is he planning to sell? He is going to collect tins for recycling. What is the total of his expenses? He spends 3 ringgit on plastic bags, so his expense is 3 ringgit. What is his revenue in a month? He can get 4 ringgit for each kilogram, and in a month he can fill 5 bags. So 4 ringgit times 5 equal to 20 ringgit. 20 ringgit is his revenue. Let's calculate his profit. 20 ringgit minus 3 ringgit equals to 17 ringgit, which is his profit. Lastly, let's look at Rani. What is she planning to sell? She's planning to sell cookies. What are her expenses? She has to buy 8 containers at 5 ringgit each. That means the total is 40 ringgit for the containers. She also spends 50 ringgit on the ingredients and 15 ringgit on labels. So 40 ringgit plus 50 ringgit plus 15 ringgit equals to 105 ringgit. Next, what is her revenue in a month? She can make 8 bottles of chocolate cookies in a month, and she plans to sell the cookies at 12 ringgit a bottle. 12 ringgit times 8 bottles equals to 96 ringgit. Let's count the profit or loss. 96 ringgit minus 105 ringgit equals to minus 9 ringgit. So here she didn't earn any money. In fact, she lose 9 ringgit. Since we have done the calculations, now we can answer the questions. 1. Whose idea brings in the most revenue? How do you know this? Let's look at the rule for revenue. Who has the highest revenue? Yes, Li Jing. Her revenue is 120 ringgit in a month. 2. Whose idea has the most expenses? How much are the expenses? Let's look at the rule for expenses. Who has the highest expenses? Yes, Rani. Her expenses is the highest, which is 105 ringgit. 3. Who will get the most profit? How much is the profit? Let's look at the last row. Who has the most profit? Yes, the answer is Li Jing. Her profit is 50 ringgit. 4. Whose plan will face a problem? What makes you say this? The answer is Rani's plan. It is because her expenses are way higher than her revenue, which makes her face a loss of 9 ringgit. 5. What talents do the children have? How do they put their talents to good use? You can say that Li Jing has talent in making wristbands, Luke can collect tins for recycling, and Rani is good at baking cookies. They use their talents to help them to earn money. Now let's move on to page 78. 6 thinking hats. Many entrepreneurs use 6 thinking hats to help them think of solutions or to make decisions. Using these hats will help you to think more clearly and not act or make decisions based only on your feelings. Let's learn the 6 thinking hats. Different hats have different purposes. When you use the white hat, you think of facts. When you use the red hat, you think of feelings. We use black hats to think of difficulties, dangers, or problems. When we put on the yellow hat, we have to think positive. We can think of the benefits or the good points. When we use the green hat, we think of new ideas, changes, and solutions to black hat's problems. And lastly, when we use the blue hat, we think about what has been done and what to do next. So when you put on a hat, you have to think the way that hat is used. For example, when you wear the white hat, you have to think only of facts. In a group discussion, all the pupils usually wear the same colored hats in the following order: white hat, red hat, black hat, yellow hat, green hat, and lastly, blue hat. Now let's practice. Group the statements and questions according to the different colored hats. Then arrange them in the following order. Now let's read the sentences and identify the type of hats. I suggest we make at least 2 types of sandwiches. This is a fact, so the answer is white hat. I love the idea. Here you are expressing your feeling, which is red hat. Let's consider the points we have discussed and come to a decision. Here you are coming to a conclusion of what you are going to do next. So you are putting on the blue hat. We may not have the time to make the sandwiches ourselves. Here you are thinking of the problem, so you are putting on a black hat. Sandwiches are good for our health. Our price is also affordable. Here you are talking about the benefits of your product. So the answer is yellow hat. How many to make? Expenses, revenue, expected profit. Here you are asking questions to yourself. So you are putting on the black hat. We can make a few first and try selling them to our classmates. Here you are talking about the solution to your problem. So you are putting on the green hat. Our sandwiches might not sell well because people prefer noodles. Here you are talking about the problem faced. So you are putting on the black hat. Now let's arrange the sentences according to the color of the hats. We start with white, followed by red, black, yellow, green, and lastly, blue hat. So the order of the sentences will be like this. That is the end of the lesson. Do like and subscribe to see more lessons like this. Happy learning!